The frozen night. The wind howled across the frozen wasteland like a beast hunting for prey. Snow slammed against the small shelter, rattling its thin walls. Inside, a single lamp flickered weakly, its glow barely pushing back the darkness. A human man sat near the corner, his arms wrapped tightly around his body as the cold sank deep into his bones. He had survived battles before, storms before, but nothing felt like this endless night of ice. Across from him, the alien woman sat stiff and proud, her glowing eyes fixed on the entrance. Her skin shimmered faintly under the weak light, a reminder she was not human. She was exiled, thrown away by her people to freeze on this dead world. Yet she carried herself with defiance, as if refusing to let despair win. Still, her body shivered, with the same cruel cold that clawed at him. For hours they had said nothing. Silence filled the shelter, broken only by the moaning storm outside. But when the temperature dropped lower, the alien woman finally spoke. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. Silence, human, enough sitting there like a fool. We are freezing. Get in my bed. Now. The words shocked him. He turned his head quickly, not sure if he heard right. Her tone was sharp, commanding, almost insulting. But in her voice he also caught something else, a note of desperation. He opened his mouth to argue, but the freezing air burned his throat. The alien woman did not wait for his response. She threw aside the thin cover she had wrapped around herself and pointed to the narrow sleeping space against the wall. If we stay apart, we die, she said firmly. Your body heat, my body heat. Together we live. Alone we become ice before sunrise. The human clenched his jaw. Sharing a bed with her? An exile who once belonged to a species that hated his kind? It felt like madness. But the pain of the cold pressed deeper into his chest, and he knew she was right. He moved slowly, crawling across the small shelter floor. The snow seeped in through cracks, stinging his hands. When he reached the sleeping space, the alien woman shifted to make room. Her movements were sharp, controlled, as if she hated admitting she needed him. Do not speak, she ordered again. Just stay close. The human lay down stiffly beside her. At first, the space felt unbearably tense. Her strange skin radiated a faint warmth, but it was her trembling that struck him most. She, the proud alien exile, was fighting against the same weakness he felt. The merciless cold. Minutes stretched into hours. The storm outside screamed louder, but inside, their shared heat began to push back against the frost. Slowly, the shaking in his body eased and he felt strength return to his fingers. The alien woman breathed deeply, her voice quieter now. Do not mistake this for kindness, human. This is survival. Nothing more. But the human noticed her. Grip on the blanket tightened, pulling it closer around both of them. He could sense the battle inside her, between her pride and her fear. He closed his eyes, but his mind raced. Who was she really? Why had her people cast her out? And why did she look at him, even for a second, with eyes that seemed less like an enemy and more like someone lost? The night dragged on. Shadows moved across the shelter walls, and every gust of wind shook the structure as if it would collapse. Yet under the blanket, pressed side by side, two beings from different worlds clung to life together. The human thought of speaking, thought of asking her name, but her earlier words echoed in his mind. Silence, human. And so he remained, silent. Still, he knew this night was only the beginning. Tomorrow the storm would ease, but hunger, enemies, and secrets would still wait. He could feel it in his gut. This alien woman carried a story far heavier than exile, and he was now part of it. As sleep finally crept into his eyes, her voice whispered faintly, almost too soft to hear. Do not die, human. If you die, I will be alone again. It was the first time her tone was not sharp but fragile, and in that fragile voice he heard the truth. She needed him, not only for warmth, but for something deeper. The storm outside raged, but inside the shelter, Two enemies turned survivors, faced the cold together, unaware of the greater battles waiting beyond the frozen night. Forced companionship. The storm did not end with the sunrise. Instead, the frozen winds grew harsher, tearing at the shelter's walls like claws. The human opened his eyes to see frost covering the inside beams. His breath hung in the air like smoke. For a moment, he wondered if he was still alive. Beside him, the alien woman stirred. Her glowing eyes flickered open, sharp and watchful, even in exhaustion. She shifted away slightly, though the blanket still tied them together. Her pride returned the instant she was awake. "Do not look at me like that, human," she snapped. "The night is over. You are alive because of me." The human almost laughed, but stopped himself. He wanted to tell her it was the other way around, that she needed him just as much. But something in her fierce expression told him silence was safer. The storm roared louder. Snow forced its way in through small cracks, and ice began crawling across the floor. Their food packs were already nearly empty, and the heating core had lost most of its power. The human's instincts screamed. If they stayed inside, they would not last another day. He stood and pulled on his torn jacket. "I'll search for supplies. Maybe there's wreckage nearby." Her head snapped toward him. "No. You step outside. You die." "I die if I stay here too," he answered calmly. "At least outside there is a chance." Her jaw tightened. She rose quickly and blocked the entrance, her tall figure casting a shadow over him. "You think me weak, human? I know. This land. I was thrown here to perish. The cold eats flesh in minutes. The winds slice skin like knives." He met her glowing eyes. "Then why are you still alive?" For the first time, her face faltered. A flicker of pain passed through her features, quickly hidden. She turned away, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "Because I learned how to endure," she whispered. "But endurance is not victory. It is suffering." The human froze at her words. She was not just surviving. She was trapped in a prison of endless nights, and now somehow he was dragged into it too. A sudden crash outside made them both tense. Something heavy had fallen in the snow. Not the wind, not the storm. Something else. The human grabbed the sharp metal shard he kept as a weapon. The alien woman moved closer, her glowing eyes narrowing. They waited, listening. Another thud echoed, closer this time. The human whispered, "Not storm. Something moving." The alien woman hissed under her breath. "Hunters." "Hunters?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "This planet is not empty. The Council sends machines here, creatures of metal and claws. They track the exiled. They do not allow survival." Before he could respond, the wall shook violently. Snow burst in through the cracks. A shadow loomed outside, its shape unnatural, tall and sharp-edged. Red lights cut through the white storm. The alien woman grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Do not fight it, human, not yet. We hide, we wait. Hide. We." The machine's claws scraped against the shelter wall, testing it, searching for life inside. The human's grip on the shard tightened, but he stayed still, his heart pounding. The alien woman's breathing grew fast, and though her face stayed fierce, he felt her trembling against him. Minutes stretched into eternity. The machine growled, its red lights sweeping across the thin walls. Then, after what felt like forever, it moved on, its heavy steps fading into the storm. Only then did the alien woman release her grip on him. She turned away, but her voice shook slightly. "This is why we do not leave. Outside is death. Inside is only slower death. That is exile." The human stared at her, the truth sinking in. She was not just an enemy cast out. She was a prisoner, hunted by her own people. And now, by staying with her, he was hunted too. Still, something inside him hardened. He would not be trapped in fear. "Then we don't just survive," he said quietly. "We fight. Together." She turned back, her eyes wide. For a moment her pride cracked, showing a deep, hidden spark of hope. She said nothing, only pulled the blanket tighter around both of them again. The storm outside howled, the hunters prowled, and death lingered in every breath. Yet in that fragile shelter, two lives were bound together, not by trust, not by choice, but by desperate need. And in the silence that followed, the human realized something. This exile was not the end of her story, it was the beginning of theirs. The storm outside. The storm outside turned wild, as if the planet itself wanted them gone. Snow slammed against the shelter like waves crashing against stone. The thin walls groaned with every blast of icy wind. Inside, the human and the alien woman sat close, listening to the storm's fury. The human's instincts told him they could not hide forever. Supplies were running low, and the machine hunter they heard last night was not the only one. If it returned and found them, the shelter would not protect them. He stood and reached for his boots. I need to go outside. The alien woman's eyes flashed. You will not survive. He fastened the straps tighter. Then I'll die trying. Waiting here is slower death. For a moment she glared at him as though he had insulted her, but then she sighed, her voice softer. You are stubborn, very much like... She stopped, biting back the rest of the words. Like what? He asked. She turned away. Like the humans I spared once. That is why I am here, human. That is why they cast me out. The human froze. Her confession was small but powerful. She had shown mercy before, and it had cost her everything. The storm howled louder. The human knew the choice was simple. Step out into death or stay and starve. He pushed open the shelter flap, and a blast of ice hit his face like knives. The alien woman cursed under her breath, grabbed her cloak, and followed him. Fool. If you go, I go. Do not slow me down. The frozen land stretched endlessly. A desert of white and shadow. The wind cut through their clothes, and snow buried their feet with every step. The human kept his eyes sharp, scanning for wreckage, caves, anything. Then, through the blur of snow, he spotted something dark sticking out of the ice, a broken wing of a crashed ship. Supplies, he muttered, moving toward it. But before they reached it, a low metallic growl echoed through the storm. The ground trembled. Red lights appeared through the blizzard, drawing closer. The alien woman's face turned pale. Hunter. The human gripped his metal shard. We run. They sprinted toward the wreckage, snow blinding their eyes, lungs burning from the frozen air. Behind them, heavy steps crunched closer and closer. The hunter machine roared, its red lights cutting through the storm like blades. They threw themselves into the broken ship, sliding behind twisted metal beams. The alien woman's glowing eyes watched the entrance, while the human pressed his back to the icy wall, his shard clutched tight. The machine's shadow loomed. It scanned the wreckage with beams of red light. The sound of its claws scraped against metal, searching. The alien woman leaned close, her whisper sharp. If it finds us, we are dead. The human's jaw tightened. Not if we strike first. She glared. You cannot fight that thing. He looked at her, determination burning in his frozen face. We don't fight to win. We fight to live. The hunter's claw tore into the wreckage, ripping apart the metal like paper. The alien woman hissed and pulled the human deeper inside, where old fuel tanks lay buried in the snow. Her eyes glowed brighter. We can use this, she whispered. The human understood instantly. Old fuel, unstable, dangerous, but enough to make a fireball. The machine crawled closer, its red eyes scanning the shadows. The human grabbed a broken pipe and struck one of the tanks, leaking fuel onto the ground. The alien woman tore a strip of cloth, lit it with her small plasma spark, and tossed it onto the trail of liquid. Flames burst to life, racing toward the leaking tank. Run, she shouted. They bolted out of the wreckage, snow crunching under their boots. Behind them, the hunter machine roared in rage as the fire ignited. A deafening explosion shattered the storm's howl, sending metal flying across the ice. The blast knocked them off their feet, burying them in snow. The human struggled to his knees, coughing, ears ringing. Beside him, the alien woman pushed herself up, her face smudged with ash but her eyes burning with fire. The wreckage lay in flames. The hunter was torn apart, its red lights fading into the snow. For a moment, silence returned, broken only by the storm. The human breathed heavily, his heart pounding. They had survived. The alien woman looked at him with something new in her gaze. Not just survival, not just tolerance, but respect. You are not weak, human, you are reckless. But strong. The human almost smiled. Strong enough to keep us alive. But before relief could settle, another sound echoed through the storm. Heavy, synchronized steps, red lights. This time not one, but many, appeared in the blizzard. The alien woman's face darkened. More hunters, dozens. The human gripped his shard tighter, his blood running cold again. Their fight had only just begun. The truth revealed. The storm had calmed, but the silence outside was not peace, it was danger waiting. The wreckage still smoked where the hunter machine had been destroyed. The human and the alien woman crouched inside the broken hull, breath clouding in the freezing air. But the silence did not last. A new sound echoed through the storm. Heavy footsteps, many of them, moving in unison. Red lights glowed faintly in the distance, cutting through the fog of snow like burning eyes. The alien woman's voice was low and sharp. They have come for me. For us. The human glanced at her. Why? Why send so many machines just to kill you? Her glowing eyes narrowed. For a moment she looked ready to stay silent, but something inside her cracked. She clenched her fists, then finally spoke. I was not exiled for weakness alone. I was a commander once. My people fought humans in the Great War. Villages burned, children cried, and still the council demanded more blood. Her voice shook for the first time. I refused. I ordered my soldiers to stand down. I spared thousands of humans. For that they called me traitor. They cast me here to die. The human stared at her, stunned. The pieces began to fit together. She wasn't just an exile. She was a woman who had chosen mercy over blind cruelty. And now the same mercy had tied his fate to hers. Your people fear you, he said slowly, not because you are weak, because you are strong enough to choose another way. Her eyes softened for a breath but then hardened again. Do not mistake me, human. I am no savior. I only grew tired of endless killing. Before the human could answer, the ground shook. The red lights were closer now, dozens of hunters marching through the storm. Their claws gleamed, their bodies like armored beasts. The alien woman hissed. They will not stop until I am gone. And now they will kill you too. The human tightened his grip on the shard of metal. His voice was calm but filled with fire. Then we give them a fight they will never forget. The alien woman looked at him, her expression unreadable. You speak as if you do not fear death. I've faced death before, he replied.
Fear doesn't keep you alive. Action does. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then, slowly, the alien woman reached into her cloak and pulled out a small device, glowing faintly blue. The human frowned. What's that? Her
voice lowered. The only piece of technology I kept from exile, a beacon. Not for rescue, but for destruction. If activated, it will call down fire from the sky. It will burn this place clean, and us with it. The human's heart pounded. Then why haven't you used it? She looked down at her hands, her pride finally crumbling. Because once I believed I deserved death. Alone in the ice, I thought ending it all was justice, but then you came, human. And for the first time, I wondered if my choice long ago was not a mistake, but the start of something else. The human studied her face. Beneath her cold, commanding mask, there was a woman carrying unbearable weight. A warrior, a traitor, a survivor. Before he could speak, the hunters roared. The wreckage shook as their claws scraped against metal. The alien woman's grip tightened on the beacon. This is the truth, human. I can burn us all or we can fight a hopeless battle. Either way, the end is near. The human stepped closer, his voice steady and strong. No, not the end. Not yet. You spared humans once. Let me show you why. Because we never stop. We never bow. And if they want to fight... He raised his weapon. Then they'll see what it means to face a human. For the first time, the alien woman smiled, just a small, sharp curve of her lips. Then let us die together, loudly. The hunters slammed into the wreckage. Metal screamed. Snow and ice blasted in. Red lights filled the air. And side by side, human and alien stood ready. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as two souls bound by fire, facing the storm with one truth. Survival was no longer enough. It was war. The final stand. The wreckage shook under the weight of the hunters. Red lights sliced through the storm, painting the snow in eerie shadows. Metal claws ripped into the walls, sparks flying in the freezing air. The human and the alien woman stood, side by side, their breaths rising in clouds, their weapons ready. The human gripped his shard of steel tighter, his heart racing but steady. The alien woman held the glowing beacon in her hand, the power of fire from the skies waiting for her. Command. For a long moment they looked at each other. Two lives tied together by fate, about to face the end. The first hunter tore through the wreckage, its claws slamming down where the human had stood. He rolled aside, stabbing upward with his shard. Sparks burst as metal scraped against metal, the hunter roaring in mechanical fury. The alien woman moved like lightning. With a plasma spark from her wrist, she struck the machine's joint, forcing it to stumble. Snow sprayed into the air as the beast crashed down, but already more hunters swarmed in behind it. The human and the alien woman fought back to back. Every strike, every dodge, every desperate blow was fueled not by hope of victory, but by the refusal to fall easily. The human's arms ached, his lungs burned, but he pushed harder, his mind filled with only one thought: don't stop. But the hunters kept coming. 5, 10, a dozen. Their glowing red eyes circled them like wolves. The alien woman's cloak was torn, her skin marked by cuts, but her eyes still burned with defiance. At last, a massive hunter stepped forward, larger than the rest, its claws shining like blades of fire. The alien woman's voice trembled with both rage and fear. They sent the war beast for me. The human's chest heaved. Then we kill it together. The war beast roared, charging. Snow exploded beneath its weight. The human and alien leapt aside, but the ground shook so hard it nearly threw them down. The beast's claw struck, smashing through wreckage and sending metal flying. The alien woman's grip tightened on the beacon. If I trigger this, everything burns, even us. The human's voice cut through the chaos. Then wait. One chance, one strike. If we fall, then you use it. The alien woman's eyes locked on his. She saw something there she had not seen in her own people for years. Unyielding courage, even against impossible odds. Slowly, she nodded. The human sprinted forward, straight toward the war beast. It roared, claws swinging down like a guillotine. He ducked, rolled, and drove his shard deep into one of its glowing eyes. Sparks and fire burst out, the beast screaming in fury. Now! He shouted. The alien woman hurled her plasma spark into the beast's wound. Flames erupted inside its head. The war beast staggered, its red lights flickering wildly. For a second, victory seemed possible. But then the beast steadied itself, roaring louder than before. Its massive claw swung wide, striking the human and throwing him hard into the snow. Pain ripped through his body, his vision blurring. The alien woman screamed his name, not with anger but with fear. She rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she lifted the beacon. The hunters closed in. The war beast raised its claw for the final blow. The human forced himself up, blood in his mouth, voice broken but strong. Do it! Burn them all! For a moment the alien woman froze. If she triggered the beacon, he would die too. The man, who had stood by her side, who had shown her that humanity was not weak but unbreakable. Her eyes filled with fire. She pressed the beacon, but not toward the ground. Instead, she reprogrammed its signal with quick, desperate hands. Above the storm, hidden in orbit, an old forgotten satellite stirred. The beacon redirected its wrath. The sky lit up. Fire rained down, not on them, but on the field of hunters. Explosions tore across the snow, ripping machines apart, scattering metal like broken toys. The war beast roared in defiance, then was swallowed in a pillar of flame. Silence followed. The storm was broken by fire and fury. The alien woman dropped the beacon, her body trembling. She looked at the human lying in the snow, broken but alive. She knelt beside him, her cold mask gone, her voice shaking. "You fool," she whispered. "You gave me more than survival. You gave me reason." The human coughed, a faint smile on his lips. "Told you. We don't bow." She pulled him close, her arms tight around him as the fires burned the hunters into ash. For the first time in years, her eyes softened, not with pride, not with rage, but with hope. The frozen wasteland was still deadly, the future still uncertain. But together they had turned exile into defiance, survival into victory. And in that moment, as fire lit the sky, the galaxy itself seemed to tremble. Because one alien exile and one stubborn human had just proven a truth her people feared most. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was unstoppable.